Previously on Whisper Walls.
I've had this power. If I come in contact with someone with a little bit of sadness, I was able to have this ability to know what they're sad about.
Such as when we had to fight the Animorph delusion. This was literally herds of people starting to think they were wildlife.
And with them was Dr. Sharpay. The Balapians gave everyone boxes. One hug, one box, over and over. Daddy opened ours. Inside were shiny purple jelly pills. Let's celebrate. You're hungry, we'll feast. And I promise you'll never go hungry again. Love,
Charles Sharpay,
Dr. Sharpay.
Doctor of the Mind.
When Daddy finished reading, we saw something up in the sky. It looked like a pod coming back down. I couldn't tell what was inside, but Daddy said it looked like the ship with all the animals. I guess maybe the doctor wasn't lying.
I don't know how this is supposed to end, but this is not what I pictured. What I was promised. What we were promised. I never wanted to go in that space pod. I convinced Eve to go, and I feel so guilty about it. I mean, it was almost like a promise to a friend that I would do it. It was a promise. Her name was Joan. I mean, the idea is that we would be floating for years, maybe decades, maybe millions of years, until we found the right destination for us to rebuild. I did not expect that when I opened my eyes, I would be back to Earth a few months later, maybe a year removed. And my hands are covered in blood. Literally. Look, I'm sorry to those that I hurt. Eve, I'm sorry. This wasn't the way. I should have trusted you. I don't want to do what I have become. My powers are not meant for this. I never knew what my purpose in all of this was. But look, it's definitely not whatever this is. I understand this recording won't mean anything like they were supposed to, but to anyone that might hear this, that might understand what happened, let me break down what is happening to me. A little while ago, my wife Eve and I left on the last space pods from Earth. We left on the wave of pods that had all the animals as well. Like that Noah's Ark is what they called it. We didn't know what was going to happen in space, but we took the path where we felt was different from imminent death. The one where our smartest and brightest thought to abandon our homes, our planet, where they thought this cognivore virus, the disease, was just going to continue to mutate until finally we were all wiped out. I never had any intention of leaving. Neither did my wife. We had our differences of opinion, but leaving on space pods created by Zocaz was not the one. And even if I did want to leave, the tickets were all gone. Until I received a phone call from a friend. A friend who said she had been affected and offered me her tickets as a dying wish.
Take the seat on the escape pods.
She told me to take
It's
my
warm
wife.
for you.
I didn't want anything to do with them, but she died while I was on the phone with her. That was something I couldn't live with. I got the tickets, she gave me directions to where it was, and then I convinced my wife to go. We went into the groupthink and then just convinced herself to go on our Star Trek. But someone turned us around. Some say it was a system malfunction, and others say it was Sharpay, and of course, the CEO guy. But whatever it was, I didn't want this. We came back to Earth. The humans that stayed here had become almost barbaric with their stay. They looked at us like traitors. I saw my friend Grant, the country singer. He looked at me in disgust when he saw me. I understand it, and also I don't. We couldn't tell anyone when we were leaving. Like, what were we supposed to do? But I could understand a cold shoulder. However, the trials of all of us for deserting was uncalled for. They questioned our reasons for existence. They asked us to plead allegiance to Sharpay. They made us take these purple gel pills. And they told us they didn't have food to waste on us. And here's where this part takes a twisted turn. Remember the space pod with the hundreds and thousands of animals? The one we deemed Noah's Ark? So Noah's Ark returned before any of the pods. And then the memory pods arrived. The memory banks. The one that contained all the vials. And inside these vials were the preserved memories and life experiences of people that those on Earth still loved. But the containers they were stored in looked unstable. Whatever technology was keeping them alive seemed unable to generate the power needed to preserve them much longer. These memories, these livelihoods, were just going to expire. So Sharpay asked the people what they wanted to do with them. Someone suggested an idea. Perhaps those memories, the captured life existence inside those vials, could be implanted into animals for storage. Sharpay loved the idea. As an experiment, he took a vial labeled Carlos. I can't put my finger on it, but I believe it was the Carlos I knew. And he implanted Carlos's memories and life existence into a goat. That goat immediately changed. It stared off into the distance, as if something inside had been awakened. People said it seemed to have gained a kind of consciousness. It looked like it was trying to communicate, trying to form words, but everything came out as bleats. It tried to run, but it was restrained. The crowd laughed and treated it like a joke, but the goat began following instructions, almost like a human. It seemed to understand what was being said. It searched the space around it as if it were looking for freedom, because it was kept in a cage. Encouraged by the results, they began implanting other vials into other animals, but no one had thought the plan through. Because the animals were still part of the system, they still had to be used as food. These animals were ready to be slaughtered, but these were human, wired animals, and the thought of it was concerning to the citizens. Sharpay reassured they would take humane ways to kill them. They put them through races. The losers were slaughtered. But the citizens started to not like the idea, and that's where I came in. Grant sold me out and told Sharpay about my powers. So now I became judge and executioner. This was my purpose for my existence. I would go to these animals, touch them. Remember my powers where I could touch a human being and I would know what they were thinking or what they were upset about. So the same thing. When I touched them, I would be able to understand who they were. And then I would go back and report to Sharpay's minions about which animals I thought was worth saving. They would only start breeding the best of these animals and then kill the rest. I wish these animals would have staged a revolt and taken over the world and killed us all. because honestly, the world would have been in better hands. But right now, it was in my sweaty palms. Every day, I would report back which animals to get rid of. I had a quota. There was no trying to be nice. I did try to let some escape. Carlos was not lucky. He didn't last. Because of my powers, Eve and I were at least lucky compared to the others that came back. But then Eve started to get sick. She told me she stopped taking the purple gel pills. She said she started having a flashback to a time when she was this woman named Bella. She said that she remembered a time in Bolapia that there was this hysteria where people started to believe they were animals and they had to cure the disease. Dr. Sharpay had to do that. As she was laying in bed, I realized what she was saying and I got sick. That whole idea where we implanted these animals with memories and these animals were us humans, those purple gel pills, they were just some sort of hallucinogen. I am sad to report there were no animals. Take that in. There were no animals.
Okay, Charles. Time to go to sleep. Papa is tired now. Good night.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to our channel for more stories and series. Again, please follow us on X at WordLimit and Instagram at WordLimitPod, or visit us at wordlimit.com, where we strive to connect and never lose your attention.